in the right spot here. This is breakout room 1, so we're 39th to 46th. This is generally some businesses and residences as well. Sorry, I do terrible with multitasking and there's a phone going off. Also, just to know that there's likely going to be 2 dogs walking behind me in about 2 minutes. So there might be a pause there. So looking through, this is kind of in a concept phase right now, conceptually, just to get an idea of the road's width, 40 feet. What that does provide us is enough room to have bike lanes and vehicle lanes. But the parking is obviously the obvious trade-offs, which is what we want to talk with you guys about today. So when we do have an accessible parking space, what we do is squeeze a little bit. We get rid of that protection for the bike lane, which is a little bit unfortunate for the bike, but it does provide that ADA curbside spot for someone that needs a parking space with ADA needs, mobility needs. So in terms of the parking removal, we are at a point where that is the current idea, that we would remove parking from 39th to 46th, with a little exception all the way at the north end where there's a giant building there now that has a huge parking demand. You can see all the way up at the top there. And then there's a little bit of break here at, looks like south of 40th. These are likely related to the bus stops. You're at 41st, and then it looks like a 44th. So I'm gonna these are the questions I was gonna ask you guys. There's only 2 of you guys, so I'm gonna be a really easy conversation. So let me see here. I'm gonna stop sharing so we can look at each other. So I would help, kind of encourage you guys. I know it's a weird meeting format, so I apologize for that. I wish we could meet in person. It's a lot easier, but we're all trying to be safe here. So I was going through before this because we didn't know how many folks we were going to have, and was kind of thinking like we could go north to south or just chat. And so I think given the group that we've got, we can probably just chat. And what I could do, let's see. I'm gonna, if that's okay, I'll hit somebody up here and then we can get the discussion started. And Lily's, Bath, and Jessica's, I would really love to chat with you guys. All right, so can we talk a little bit? So what do you guys do on Tejon? What kind of, in front of the business, what are your loading zones? What's your normal activity in front of the business, I think is what we're trying.
Sure, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's a retail business. We sell dog and cat products, and then there's also a grooming component to it, and some other dog services like do-it-yourself baths and nail trims. And there is a loading zone across the street, but there's not one on my side of the street. There is parking on the side streets, and people do park in front frequently. Does that answer all your questions?
I think so. Yeah. We're trying to get at how deliveries work and everything too. And I do thank you. It's kind of weird. I'm Dottie Hardly fun. I will share this screen again. It kind of talks about where we have the
yeah. We do offer curbside pickup, which could be impacted. Typically the shop is open 10 to 5 right now. Those are the business hours. So.
Okay. All right. And I'm practicing with sharing the screen, looking at tiny pictures. If everybody's cool with that, we could keep doing that. If everyone, we can go back later if we want to. So. I would also, okay, I can hear some background, but that might also be me. Okay, so let's just do this. Thank you. And I do see Defense Fund. I'm Michael. Could you please share a little bit about what you guys do there on North Zuni, and what your curbside situation is there? You have folks coming in to visit, kind of things like that.
Sorry, did you ask for Colorado Legal Defense Group?
Oh yeah. Hey, Michael
Sorry.
here. You try to be more personal. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm doing more than one thing at once. So hi, I'm Danielle. I'm the operations manager for the criminal defense law firm at 4047 Tejon. I'm right next to Lily's Baths and Biscuits, which I love. And I'm a little concerned because I don't think that the loading zones are enough. I think there need to be loading zones on either side of the street. We personally have handicapped clients, and having them go park in front of the liquor store, go down the street, go across the street, and go all the way around is it's unprofessional. And I don't think that I would like to have to explain to my handicapped clients that they're going to have to go through a rigmarole in order to get legal defense. When we're already kind of fighting the government, it doesn't really look great on us. So that's my opinion.
Understood. Thank you. So if there was ADA parking, that's something I will. We're not going to be able to like resolve it right now. But that's
for a couple parking spots that were like 2 hours maximum or 1 hour maximum or something like that. I know personally, I buy my dog food from a little hole in the wall shop, and we load 4 or 5 bags into my car at one time, and it would be unsafe for Lily's customers to go across the street and bag everything over there. So I'm kind of worried about the retail and how much traffic we have on at least our little section from 41st to 40th, or no, 40th to 41st is really, really busy for foot traffic. So those are my concerns.
okay. Thank you, and that's well understood. Yeah, we will, and we have one other phone here, and I'm like terrible. Whitney Kennedy, I just want to ask you, and I'm Michael Koslow, just to share a little bit about like your interest in the corridor on the Tejon project. I, like it's easier for me because I know the other ones are businesses, but I'm not sure what your interest is on the project.
Okay, actually, this is Shannon. I'm the practice manager for Highlands Health for Life, which is Whitney Kennedy's practice. So we are a family medicine practice. We run between 45 and 70 patients a day throughout the office with 4 providers. It's already a struggle with parking because we don't have a parking lot. We've asked the conflict center to rent us spaces, the beer place across the street, we've offered to rent spaces from places that do. Nobody will allow it. So with our handicapped patients, our elderly patients, it's already difficult parking. It's very, very difficult, and we're not opposed to bikers or anything, but there's only 2 handicap parking even in this area, which the patients that already have difficulty have to go, it's across the street and then cross the street and come over. And as we all know, the roads aren't taken care of the best. It's a little rough to get up on the curbs. I don't know what we would do for the patients. We've lost some patients already because of the lack of parking. And now there's even a Chinese restaurant or sushi place opening right next door. They have no parking. So I can't see asking an elderly person with a walker or somebody that's pushing some in a wheelchair to have to park 2, 3, 4 blocks away and then push themselves in. We're medical. People being able to access us is important.
I totally get that, and thank you for providing medical service in a pandemic. We are like literally.
Yeah, well, if we don't have parking, we may be
forced
to leave the area. So.
Well, one thing is our team is we're kind of in like a data gathering mode now, and so we have gathered data at 5 a.m., but we don't think that's nearly the peak hour time for parking. And one of the things that we always ask about is, what would be your perception of like when is it the busiest? Is it around like lunchtime or the evening?
2 to 5.
About 3 to 5. Okay.
Yeah, I would say 2 to 5.
2 to 5. Okay.
And then for our criminal defense law firm, we have people coming in as early as 8. So I don't think that applies to everybody. But 2 to 5 is when I notice that the ramen place is hopping. People are picking up dog food. That's when I notice everyone out.
Okay.
And we're 7:30 to 6, but I do know that on this part from 41st to 42nd, there's a lot of the residents that park on the street overnight because they don't have parking. And so when they leave, it opens up parking for the patients. So if they don't have parking and they're parking on the side roads or whatever, it's not going to leave availability at all for our patients. We're trying, you know, Dr. Kennedy also lives in the Highlands and Sunnyside, loves this area and loves everything it has, but parking is an issue, especially when people are sick, you know, or dragging their kids in or elderly.
Well, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're talking about snow plowing and things like that as well. I know that's going to really affect the way that that's going to be taken care of. How is the snow going to be taken off of the bike lanes? Because if we do have to force our clients to walk across the street down the road, I mean, can I even count on Denver County to take care of us as business owners? I don't believe so, truly. I really love to, but I don't think that they're going to take care of the roads to the satisfaction that our clients deserve, that our taxpayers deserve.
Oh, well understood. Right now on the snow maintenance front, we don't have as many of the protected bike lanes in Denver. A lot of them are downtown right now, and we got 2 Kubotas that have like plow attachments on them. But obviously, in an inundation, that's a, you know. So thank you for bringing that up. That's something that as we I would say envision and propose and deliver facilities, that it's our responsibility to maintain them as well. And so thank you for bringing that up. That's something that it's always a dialogue within our organization, as you can imagine. So I would say, maybe try to ask, and this is kind of something I'd always wanted to ask for small businesses. Would you think anyone visiting your businesses rides a bike to them?
Not mine.
Rides their bike?
We love the bus station. The bus station is fantastic. Tons of people through that, but I guarantee you that no, my clients are definitely not riding their bike there.
Typically not. Typically not, because if they're going to be buying goods, they have to have somewhere to hold on to it or store it. And I have a biker who stops by probably once every 2 or 3 months, and she buys a couple of things, but she
It'd be great with us stop, but not too many bikers.
Okay. And again, pardon my pause. I'm a unitasker. I'm trying to make sure where our group is. There's anything else okay. We have, I guess, so this is kind of like a quick check. Are recording, is that working okay, Kevin? So we may not be.
Hey, Michael, yeah, it is.
It's okay, sweet. All right, thank you. All right, just doing a quick check. Okay, so I know it's a really unique format. So if we were here and we were able to visit you at your businesses, those are the kind of questions we'd be asking.
We actually have one more person in the room who hasn't spoken yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I think you joined late. Hey, go ahead.
Please, yes.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Ann. I'm actually a homeowner currently renting out our we have always love seeing there's a lot of bike riders that go through, but we don't really see a lot of bike riders that frequent some of the various businesses that we'll go to. We know like Cask and Craft is a couple blocks south in a different room right now. They try to encourage bike riders to go to their business by giving them a discount, at least they did in the past. But my concern is with a number of different things. We have a neighbor who it looks like they're able to retain their one accessible parking spot, but that tends to be an issue at times too, because especially during the winter when there's a lot of snow, and if there's not the snow plowing, then it's already a problem with traffic and bike riders during the regular period of time. And then you also have the folks who are parking, but we have a number of neighbors who are also, they have multiple tenants as opposed to making it a single family dwelling. They have multiple tenants. And so the nice thing is some of them have made parking available by building garages, but for the most part, because there's multiple tenants, it takes up a lot of space on Tejon on a regular basis, much less if all parking is taken and then there's only side streets available. So, and even then with some of the businesses that do have parking, some of the restaurants, then side parking is already usually taken, or if the tenants are around, then they've taken up a lot of spots as well. So you have that, and then let's say you have those buildings where there's no parking, they rely on street parking, then let's say they have the luxury of space to build garages, well then what are construction vehicles going to do? Are there going to be special permits so that they can access some of the homes, because the alleyways aren't conducive towards some of the construction work that needs to be done and deliveries. And then you have, so for us, it's a matter of a number of different things. You have the loading zones, which aren't sufficient right now. And then let's say you have guests, you have neighbors that have multiple tenants, if you have construction, and then what's going to happen with accessible parking, and critically during the winter season, then snow removal. So those are the areas of concern for us.
That makes sense. I'll slightly put Tejon on the spot here, but I'm going to give her time to set up. We are working on a multimodal work zone policy, and part of that work talks about construction and parking related to giant construction projects. And what I can't remember, and this is Paige is probably going to hopefully remind me, is how big of a project is it to the point where we're going to ask our developer and contractor partners to provide us a plan for parking. I want to say it was like a certain dollar threshold for the project, but I can't remember what that is. So in other words, if someone just needs to, clean out the road for their house, it's not a big deal, right? But if someone's building a giant building that's, 200 units or something, and obviously there's a break in between there, but I can't remember that number.
Yeah, that's a great question. You mean providing parking for construction workers? People who are
Yeah,
working
yeah.
building?
I know.
There is
There's a threshold, but all that,
yeah.
all what that means is that above that number, that we would ask the contractor developer to come up with a plan, and it typically involves parking nearby or renting a parking lot or shuttling people in as they need to. But that just happened last year, so we are becoming sensitive as a city to that issue. So thank you for picking that up. That doesn't serve the people who are already working and live in the community as well.
Yeah, the other piece of that is, if there's construction happening on Tejon, the construction folks would get a permit, and then they'd have to reroute the bike route, and for people walking, provide a space for people walking. So that's typically how we do things. Is they wouldn't have to go in the alleyway necessarily; they'd have space on Tejon itself.
Okay, and so that would also apply if people are moving in or out. Is that correct?
Moving in or out is different. So they would have to park on the side streets. You could get a permit actually when you're moving to park, but they wouldn't, I don't think they'd be able to park in the bike lane. I think they'd be parking on the side street or in the alleyway as well. Loading is allowed in alleyways.
And then also with respect to loading, then what about like package delivery?
Yeah, so we wouldn't want them parking in the bike lane. It would have to be on side streets.
Well,
So
or-
UPS and FedEx and the like would have to then physically, they'd have to park on the side and then walk wherever the home was to deliver.
Yeah, or in alleyways. Alleyway delivery is
We get
also
deliveries almost
allowed.
daily along here, whether
Yeah,
it's
tell us more about your
across the
deliveries.
street, but that's going to be a huge impact to the, you know, that type of delivery. I
Yeah.
get food deliveries weekly, and there has to be some sort of agreement with, you know, my distributors that they can get access. So great point about deliveries.
Well,
Yeah, kind of Health for Life too. We have deliveries and pickups, stat pickups from labs, things all day long. And then, you know, stuff that's delivered, you know, probably anywhere from 7 to 10 times a day. And I can tell you some of those stat pickups and labs, if it's snowy out there, they're not going to stop and pick them up and, you know, walk 2 blocks to get it. So
And
it will
another thing,
affect some serious issues.
another thing to keep in mind as well is if you look at next door, then there are also a number of issues sometimes with packages that are stolen. So depending upon where it's located, it's always, you can monitor in front, but even with the packages that are delivered in the front where there's more foot traffic and people could observe and notice it, if you're now expecting the delivery services to be conducted in the alleyways, then I'd have more concerns with that requirement as well.
Is there a reason why the Tejon corridor is targeted with all the very small businesses located on it?
Yeah, what's the issue with Pecos? That's mostly residential. And no offense, Anne, but I'm looking at the maps right now, and I think Pecos or Zuni would be a great choice. Obviously, you guys have done the planning and the work for me, so I don't have the background that you guys do. You guys obviously chose the street for a reason. It wasn't created out of nothing, and I don't want to completely change your home plan, but what's the issue with just having one bike lane? I mean, as far as I know that when I'm on the bike, I'm not the same width as a car. I don't think that we need 2 protected bike lanes for one corridor when they're not going to increase business consumption, and we're going to be impacting our clients, customers, our residences. I mean, we have a huge rental market here. I mean, there's a condo across the street for $400,000. That's ludicrous. But when you have these protected bike lanes, are you thinking about these people that are going to be moving here? Like, we're not necessarily bikeable to every place that we want to go work in. You can't go bike to Inglewood. So what is this really doing for us? And I love biking, and I think that it's the last mile issue is huge. And I think we should stop totally effing up our planet just to get to work every day. But, and obviously I don't love my job so much that I'm going to just completely ruin the planet for it. But why can't we do one bike lane? Why can't we do one protected bike lane with 2 bi-directional bike lanes in that protected area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we need essentially two directions, right? As you mentioned, so we need one going north and one going south on the same corridor. So we want to have, people who are traveling north also be able to travel south. And putting in a bi-directional on one side of the street, I think that's what you're asking.
Yes, ma'am.
That's actually, it's a very challenging way to design a bikeway, because you have to essentially replace all of the signals along the corridor. You have to add these bike signals to allow people who are biking and then people who are driving to know that there are people going in different directions. So it makes it quite complicated and actually prohibitively expensive for us to install something like that. unless it's on a
Makes
very
sense.
short corridor. So we're trying to do that on Lowell Boulevard up in the northwest. But that's only like 6 to 8 blocks. And Tejon's a much longer corridor.
So what if we just had one direction going up Tejon and the other one going down Pecos? Is that something that we could reasonably solve with? Because I don't think two protected lanes is I don't think it's a good idea. I love bikers, and I love bikes, but I just don't think it's a good idea for us.
I
Only a
I
little
agree
bit.
with her, and I have the same question. It doesn't
Okay.
make sense to have both sides all blocked. And, you know, I'm here every day, sometimes 6 and 7 days a week. There's not an exceptional large group of bikers up and down this road because you live here, they're not coming to most of our businesses. And like I said, I've been here 11 years. And so I see it, I'm out, I take walks at lunch, you know, the whole office. It seems like it would be taken away from the majority for a minority. And I can see one side, but people walk up and down both sides of the sidewalk, but I don't see taking away all this area. So people, and like 41st, if anyone knows, all the construction on it, you can't hardly get in and out of 41st anyway, from Pecos because of all the construction and people parked on both sides. So it's already difficult, but it's just, I don't see that many bikers coming down this road as it is. And then they do have the right of way. So.
Yeah, we typically don't consider adding one bike lane on one street, going one direction and one in the other direction, but happy to talk through. Can you tell me a little bit more about why? Is it just the removal of parking you'd prefer to have it on one side, at least on the street? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I think having guaranteed parking for our residents and businesses, at least, I mean, if we're gonna make this huge compromise, I think there needs to be some give on that, in my opinion, or I have an idea, why don't we make it legal to bike on the sidewalk? Get out of the way if someone's walking and don't be a jerk. That's something we could do, but that would be my libertarian solution, if you want to call it that.
So it looks like we're about to be kicked out of our breakout room. I think we're heading back into the main room. But any last thoughts? I did want to ask some folks about how delivery access worked in the alleyways. And I noticed some of you have small parking lots. I was wondering how that's used, if that's by employees or deliveries or what's up with that.
Like myself here at Highlands Health for Life, we have a very small parking place back here, and that's only for employees. And we can't take deliveries back there because for safety concerns, the back is all locked. Plus, we've even tried to have handicap parking back there, but then they can't get over the stones and over all the rough stuff. And then they come in the back entrance through our lab. And with the COVID situation right now, we can't have that. We can't have people coming in the back because we keep it locked for a safety issue because